Right, we're ready to get going. So if we open up all of these files, which are our working files, the luminances and the RGBs. Now you don't technically have to have these images open for this process because it doesn't use views, it will just use the files. But if we look for, where are we? Come on. HDR composition. Okay. So if we start with the RGBs, we add the RGB files first. Open them up. As a rule, you always want to have the longer exposure on the top. I've only done this a couple of times. From what I've read, basic settings are actually pretty good, and I have no real reference for it. I haven't had time to really play around with it, so we're just going to go with defaults. We'll just run that. It's just going to combine the two images into one master. Maybe. It's thinking about it. And there we go. Okay, so we can clear that. If we just minimize that for a second. It creates a mask of what it's used. Won't really show you a great deal, but it shows what it's compressing. And then we'll have, we can get rid of those now. And that's our new HDR image, which if we just auto stretch, it's kept a lot of the longer exposure dust, but compressed the core, so it's not so blown out. I mean, that's an auto stretch, so it doesn't really mean too much. It just shows you, what you can work with. But we know, if we see now, we've got a nicely tight compressed core, which is good. So what we're going to do is just going to save that file as HDR RGB. Save it. Okay. Minimize. Come back to that one. Okay, and then we're going to do the same again for the luminance files. So just the luminance. Oops. I'll open them. Make sure again that the longer exposure is on the top. Defaults. Apply it. We'll just go through the same thing again. Okay, so we're finished with composition. Get rid of the mask. Get rid of these. And there is our new master file, which has been HDR'd. So we'll save that as HDR Loom. And if you notice there, when I saved it, if I go save again, I don't know if it will bring the window back up. Yes. But it's actually, because of its high dynamic range, it's actually saving it as in a 64-bit file as opposed to a normal 32-bit. So we'll just resave it. So now we have our working images that have been HDR'd. I don't even know if that's a word. So what we'll do now is we'll start the post process on this, and yeah, come up with an image.